16 Days of Activism against gender-based violence starts today, the 25th of November, the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Here in the UK, the Office for National Statistics 2018 revealed that the number of people killed as a result of domestic violence in the UK is at a 5-year high. 173 people were killed last year, an increase of 32 on 2017. 3/4 of the victims were women. The suspects were predominantly male. And it doesn't stop there. 78% of forced marriages in the UK involve female victims, and 20% of women experience sexual assault before the age of 18. To tackle gender inequality, we call upon men to stand up against it. As in the words of Malcolm X, "A man who stands for nothing will fall for anything." Listen to some of the men within our Non-in-3 Research Centre and join us to bring an end to the violence against women.
For too long, I believe, men have been silent or not vocal enough in speaking out against violence against women.
Gender-based violence represents a massive stain on any society, and it is an indictment against all men who commit these acts of atrocities against women.
Well, I think it's important to work as a man with a Non-in-3 centre, as everybody has somebody who's close to them that they love that can potentially suffer from gender-based violence against women, so mothers, sisters, cousins, nieces, things like that.
The name Non-in-3 comes from the statistic that 1 in 3 women can expect to be a victim of some form of physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. And I don't think it matters who you are, that's appalling, and it should appall you. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, that's a shocking fact. That's a fact that shouldn't be true. That's a thing that's unacceptable. And I think all of us, men and women, have a responsibility when something is unacceptable to speak out against it and to do what we can in any way we can to try and make the world a little bit of a better place.
I was looking at chronic illness self-management, mainly was my area of work, and so essentially we're talking about an unrelated area of research, and I was surprised when I spoke to the people with chronic illnesses in diabetes study I did, particularly looking at self-management. I was surprised how many women in those interviews told me about often very severe forms of gender-based violence they'd experienced. This was in the context of a study that had nothing to do, or so I thought, with gender-based violence. But it turns out this is a big problem, and for women, bigger than most people realise, I think, and that has a real impact on people's health. As a health psychologist, health researcher, I think people have a right to health, and gender-based violence is something that really gets in the way of that. So for me, it's really important that this issue is tackled.
In seeing young people mature to be adults and what they've learnt as a young person, they're literally taking forward, we're coming to a point where that is mainly violence, and that's the general response. So for me, being able to effect some kind of change at that level, yes, this has to change, and it has to change now.
I felt it was really important to be part of this research because quite often I think a lot of men are scared to be associated with feminism or the fight for women's equality, and I think there needs to be more male voices in the debate talking about these issues and really taking kind of ownership and responsibility for a lot of the toxic masculinity that we deal with as societies. So I felt, as someone that has grown up, has been socialised as male and lives as male, it was really important that I participate in this research to kind of really drive these messages through, because I think if we approach it from different directions, different perspectives, then gradually we start to change hearts and minds.
Nothing makes a man stronger than when he stands up for what is right. It shouldn't have to be your mother or your sister's experience before you speak out. Together, and only together, can we make it stop.